I had surgery for thoracic outlet syndrome on my right side. Would I ever consider getting my left side done? The answer is no. And I kind of go back in time and kind of walk you through the story and tell you why. I actually right now I still have probably better use of my left arm sometimes than my right one. The right one's the one side I had surgery on, and it's just because there's more pain in this arm than there is in the left one. So that's really the reason that I don't want to have it done. But I'll go back kind of through how it all started and bring you up to now real quick. My TOS started out, I'll be 62 next month. My TOS started out when I was about 17 years old. Just started having like pain in my right wrist, and I'd have some stiffness in the sides of my neck. And we had a dairy ranch, so when I got out of school I just went to work on the ranch when I was 18. And that involved milking cows, so you have to be squatting down and reaching under the cows all the time, and just all that repetitive reaching. That's what kind of got it going, I think. And I did a lot of weightlifting when I was young too, and played football and that kind of stuff as well. But that repetitive reaching, that's what really got it going. Although at the time I had no idea what it was. My muscles were just really tight all the time, and it was when I'd go to doctors or anything, they would just say, oh, you just have really tight muscles, or sometimes my elbows would hurt and they'd give me shots, oh, you have tendonitis in your elbows, or just the usual common stuff. And then they would say, oh, you're better than you were when you came in before. And I'm like, no, not really. And they'd say, yeah, you are. And the doctors just have these big egos. And so I kind of really didn't go to all that many doctors along the way. So I just kept working and working until I was about, let's see, I think when I was about 28, I hurt my back. Actually, I hurt my back a bunch of times along the way. And then every time it would get better, it wouldn't be as good as it was before, because I kept like, I think herniating the discs in my back, but I never really went to the doctor for that either. I just kind of dealt with it. I was able to keep working and just manage it till it got to a point where finally the last time I just couldn't, the pain was so bad I couldn't hardly do anything anymore. So started seeing a doctor for that and an MRI, and they're like, yeah, you got a herniated disc in there that probably needs surgery. So actually I was seeing a physical therapist for my back. He's actually the one who diagnosed me with thoracic outlet syndrome. I was doing something and my hand swelled up, and the hand would swell up all the time, but when I would see a doctor, it wouldn't do that. It's like, it just, you see a doctor and your symptoms wouldn't act up. So anyway, but he saw my hand swell up. I'm like, what makes my hand turn all red like that? He goes, I was looking at that. He goes, I think that might be thoracic outlet syndrome. And at the time I'd never heard of it. I'm like, what? Like everybody else that's never heard of it. So anyway, I had lower back surgery in 1990, I believe. And then I went to a TOS specialist in San Francisco, because I live in Northern California. And when I saw that doctor, he's asking me, well, why am I seeing you now? Or why am I seeing you? And I started talking about my symptoms. He goes, no. Why am I seeing you now instead of like 10 years ago? I'm like, well, because I didn't know what it was. I didn't know where to go, and nobody knew what it was. And then he was explaining, well, since I've gone so long, that surgery is less likely to be as successful as if you caught it early on, but I decided to have the surgery anyway. And what that surgery consisted of, I still have the top rib. At that time, he just removed, I think, the scalene muscles. I think he said there was 3 muscles he removed. And I think he said there was like one muscle that was kind of wrapped around a nerve. And he thought that, it would be a successful surgery. Although the pain in my neck and my shoulders was way worse after. The swelling in my hand was not as bad, but the pain in my neck and shoulders was terrible after. So that's one reason right there. I said, I'm never having anybody touch my other side for that reason. And then maybe 10 years later or so I don't know, 20 years ago or something. It's hard to remember exact amounts of time anymore because I'm getting older. So, but I was in this group online. It was like a forum, and a lot of people were talking about having ribs removed and things like that. And I was thinking, well, maybe they should have took the rib out. Maybe, maybe that was, maybe I need that done. So actually, I went to see another guy down in San Francisco. His name was Dr. Scott Worden, and he does those MRA scan things. But I think it shows your circulation and stuff. And the way that went, when I saw him, he put an IV in my left arm, which is the side that I haven't had done. And when I had my arm up over my head, when he was doing some of the tests, I guess the circulation was real bad. So he stopped it, he pulled the IV out, put it in my other arm, and did more tests. And he said actually the circulation was better in the right arm, the side I had the surgery on, than the left arm. And he also thought that the rib really wasn't causing a problem, and he thought the other doctor had made a pretty good call by just taking the muscles out. So after that, I just kind of, I was thinking about maybe I needed a follow-up surgery on this side, but, I saw the other surgeon that, I don't know if it was the same surgeon that did the surgery or a different one, but he didn't think I needed any more surgery on that side. And like I said, I just don't want to have the other side done because I was always afraid, since this caused me so much pain in this shoulder area after the surgery, I was afraid I'd make this side worse. I just decided I don't want that side touched. And I've heard people in forums ask if you could have both sides done at the same time, but to me that would be like suicide, because like what if neither side turns out well? If you get one side done and that doesn't turn out well, at least he's kind of got the other arm to kind of fall back on, which is kind of the way I am right now. But the thing I did figure out that did kind of help me improve quite a bit was joint mobility exercises. I saw that online. There's a guy named Scott Sonnon, Sonnon. And because the thing is, like if I would go to therapy or anything like that, it was always too aggressive and it would just always flare me up. So when I started doing this joint mobility stuff, I would just do like one exercise at a time, just, maybe just a few repetitions of it like this, just, moving my arm around a little bit. And then later on, like say I would do that in the morning, later on in the afternoon, I'd have all this inflammation in my hands and everything. And it would always take like time. There was always a delay reaction, like before the inflammation would show up. In fact, I got where every time I would add a new exercise or something like that, I would write it down, because like a lot of times I would forget, and then in the afternoon, like my hands would start getting all stiff, and I get all this inflammation. I'm like, well, what happened now? And then I added a new exercise. So it was just baby steps, just little by little by little by little. It's kind of got me to where I can move around, well, not good, but way better than I used to be. I used to be so stiff. That's where I got the TosTinMan name. I was like a tin man. I'd have to kind of move my whole body like this. It was just awful. So now I move around, not good, but so much better than I used to. In fact, after I had that TOS surgery, I couldn't sit, just because like across my neck and everything, it felt like someone was like choking me, like someone just had their hand on my throat. And if I would sit for very long, all these muscles would they would tighten up and flare up. That's always been my problem, is muscle tightness, not so much pain and stiffness, just muscle tension and tightness that you can't get rid of. So hopefully that's helpful. If anybody has any questions that I didn't cover, then you can ask in the comments. Anyway, thanks for watching. See you guys next time.